Please welcome Rachel Cole.
Thank you. Thank you. So great to see everybody. You guys doing okay? You've been sitting for a little while. Do you need to stand up and stretch or anything? Okay. Whew. It's a fairly big group. I'm a little nervous. So just to introduce me a little bit, I guess I do this guy here, right? Where do I point this? Doesn't matter? It's not working. No? Pushing the green button. There we go. Thank you. I was pushing the wrong green button. So my name is Rachel Cole. Yes, I did work in the healthcare industry and mental health and wellness industry 25, 30 years. I'm still in the mental health industry. I have my own practice at this point, registered psychotherapist. I have a PsyD, ABD in clinical psychology, and I'm a hemp farmer. So I got into hemp farming in 2015 after a car accident, okay? And it kind of took my brain away, PTSD, TBIs, injuries to all over. So it took me a long time. I could crawl around, so I gardened. And my daughter turned me on to hemp. She likes the THC stuff. She's older and she likes that. I do not. And she turned me on to the non-psychotropic effect, and it worked better than my opiates. So I researched it and I started to wonder why this wasn't out in 2015. And there were maybe 3, 4 other people growing. The first year there was 1 legal grow of hemp. Second year, I came on with probably 5 other people into the hemp industry and became an advocate. So that's just a little bit about how I kind of jumped into this industry, okay? So let's just jump into a little differences. Hemp and marijuana, they're happy cousins. They're both cannabis plants, okay? The major designation is the THC level, which makes it marijuana above 0.3%. It's an arbitrary number that they picked out from a research project over in England, and just decided, Department of Agriculture decided to use it as their baseline, saying anything above 0.3% is THC, anything below is hemp. Still pretty much the same plant, just different cannabinoid compositions going on, okay? There are hundreds of cannabinoids in a hemp plant, in both, okay? So, and we're just getting to know them and getting to understand them and what they do for the body at this point. Hemp grows tall. It's for fiber, all kinds of things like that. Marijuana is a lot shorter, stockier, much more of an indica from India type plant that has the THC with the psychotropic effects in it. But also THC is good for people with Parkinson's, because a lot of people use it to help with the dyskinesia and being able to create mobility and stop the shaking, okay? This is just, Dr. Russo talks about the taxonomy of it. I'm not going to get into this one because I have a lot of slides and not a lot of time. So, but this just goes on to talk about how they're trying to classify the plant at this point. This shows that it's been around for a while. These are old bottles from the 1800s that they used for cannabis, and they used it for everything from headaches to belly aches to you name it. It was kind of a smart idea because it really worked very well as an herb. Okay, cannabis has been cultivated and used by humans since at least the 12th to 10th millennium BC. So it's been around a long time. And because it's been around a long time, our body's created something called an endocannabinoid system that works with this plant. This plant activates our endocannabinoid system, or our internal cannabinoid system, okay? Works better than anything else. Your turmeric helps with inflammation. That's because it activates that same system, but not as well as the CBDs, CBGs, and all the other cannabinoids. Ancient Greeks and Romans used it for fiber, for boats, for all kinds of things. Commonplace, they used it in wine, they found out. So, and well attested in the ancient world, botany, medical texts, religion, and it was traded throughout Asia and Middle East and Africa. And I went the wrong way. So yes, it's a very old plant. So the endocannabinoid system that we have is a complex neural network that is on our neurobiology, okay? It regulates all kinds of functions such as memory, digestion, motor function, immune response, inflammation, appetite, pain, blood pressure, bone growth, protection of neural tissues, which is very important for all you guys, and among a lot of other things they're discovering. Three principal elements are the receptors, the specialized molecules called endocannabinoids, and the enzymes that synthesize and metabolize it, okay? Two primary subtypes, which you've probably all heard by now, is the CB1 and CB2 subtypes, okay, receptor types. So this just shows a little bit of where things are in the body for the cannabinoid system. So central nervous system, that's more of where your THC responds. You have more CB1 receptors in your brain and central nervous system than CB2. CB2 is your peripheral outside. Your CB1, which is just a CB1 THC. That's the one it couples with, okay? And that's in your brain, the basal ganglia, and where you guys have things going on with Parkinson's. So, but it works in the central nervous system, the gastrointestinal system, hormones, bones, immune system, the metabolism, and muscles, okay? So CB1 and CB2 receptors. CB1, it's a THC agonist. That means that it activates. That's where your psychotropic effect comes from, where you're getting high from the THC. The THC can go in and activate those CB1 receptors within the brain, okay, and the nervous system, it's a central nervous system itself. So this activates heart, liver, fat, tissues, stomach, testes, okay? The CB2 receptor is your CBD receptor, okay? That's called cannabidiol, CBD, okay? So it does not activate. It is an antagonist, which means if you have, so for neurobiology, you've got a neuron here and you've got your dendrites. It goes into the ends of the dendrites and it corks it up like a cork. So nothing can activate it, which becomes important for the people who want to get the THC to help with the motor difficulties. You get to couple that with CBD, because CBD will take out the psychotropic effect, okay, and cork it up so the THC cannot activate. I actually have a lot of cannabis circle people and do meditation cannabis circles, things like that, and they'll always have CBD around, because if you get too high, this sobers you up, okay? It's the exact opposite effect on that CB1 receptor, okay? Now, CBD is your protective system, and it's super important for all you guys. And for everybody, not just PD, but everybody. The way it works beautifully in this system. And we'll get to more of that in a minute. Let's see. So CBD immune system and the protective system. So they call it the mammalian body. It's attenuating, so reducing effects, preventing and repairing the neurobiology of your body. There are research out there now that's working towards looking deeper into, in more of a scientific way, how it's actually repairing. And there's going to be a lot more research on that at this point. So the lipid endocannabinoid signaling through the CB2 receptors may represent an example of part of the protective system. The activation of the cannabinoid system has been observed as a neurodegenerative conditions, so brain trauma, and Parkinson. So how do I want to go about this? I'll just move on, and hopefully this will come into further in depth. Okay, so CB2 receptors assumed present only in the immune system. It's now been identified in the central nervous system as well, and the microglial cells as well, which is really important for protection of the brain. It is lower than the CB1 receptors, but they do find that they're there. Under some pathological conditions, CB2 receptor expression is enhanced in the central nervous system and other tissues, especially where there's lesions, okay, and where there is trauma to the brain. Once there are lesions and trauma to the brain, the body creates more CB2 receptors around it so that the cannabinoids can protect. It insets into those receptor sites. It ups circulation and helps with the protective factors of this. It's kind of an amazing body response. This is called upregulation. Okay, so neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's, Huntington's, ALS, and Parkinson's have this difficulty of brain degeneration and lesions. CB2 receptors upregulate in response to the inflammatory exotoxic infections, trauma, oxidant insults that occur. So taking CBD helps protect your brain at this point, is what this is showing. And because it works with the brain that's already upregulating and creating more CB2 receptor sites, when you take the CBD, that's where it comes in and insets for that to help take down that inflammation that's happening. All right, the mesolytic dopamine system, THC activates this. Endocannabinoids' primary role regulates the release of neurotransmitters GABA, glutamate, and dopamine. Indirectly regulates by action on glutamate and GABA. So your CBD can come in and comes in and interacts with these. Okay. The protectant ability of neurons and glial cells delays the arrest of disease progression. And the research is starting to show this, okay? Reduces glutamate release from the limbic system on the excitatory function, regulate reward system. So I treat people who have addiction problems because this really helps calm down that reward system. And it isn't anything that makes you want more. So it doesn't have that addictive process. CBD does not. Reduces intracellular calcium. This is kind of interesting and really good for Alzheimer's. It helps break down and keep the plaque, amyloid plaques, is what the research is showing. Produces antioxidant effects and anti-inflammatory. These are some of the receptor sites this works on, okay? So the G protein receptor 55, the GPR55, acts independently as an agonist. It inhibits, okay? It blocks glutamate from the production, okay? GPR55 activation, anticonvulsant, reducing hyperactivity, excitatory neurons, epileptic seizures. This is where CBD really kind of hit the market, is when Charlotte's Web came out and said, we're using this for our daughter, and CNN did a whole thing on Charlotte. Charlotte has since passed due to COVID as of last year, but she was a spokesperson and the face that was put to CBD to help kids and stopping seizures. She literally would have seizures all day long. She was horizontal for the bulk of her life. And when they gave her the CBD, she became a functioning kid that could walk and talk and become, because she wasn't having these seizures all the time. So this process of the CBD going in and blocking those seizure types is really an amazing thing. So we are very grateful for the Stanley brothers and for Charlotte's Web and Charlotte herself. So let's see, where am I? THC CB1 acts as an agonist for higher concentrations. Okay, so it excites. The bioactive lipid agonist GPR55, there's compelling evidence that helps with anorexia nervosa and obesity because it works on digestion. It works in the digestive tract and helps regulate. It's kind of an adaptogen for what's going on with you. So it can go in as an adaptogen, and if you have one thing going on, it'll try to balance it out. It has been likened to a mobile. So your body is a mobile when it goes off kilter. So CBD goes into those top things and puts it back in balance. Since it's an endocannabinoid, it's our own system. The CBD comes in and works on our own neurobiological system, not on it, but with it to balance. Okay? PPAR is another terminal site. It's a therapeutic target for type 2 diabetes. It really works on the type 2 diabetes neuropathic pain that you can get. The next neural site involved with pain. This really, CBD, most of you probably know, is really good for pain. Have you heard that? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So that seems to be its biggest proponent, is for arthritis and anti-pain. So it works very well, especially with PD patients for pain, okay? CBD and CBG both act as full agonists on these receptors. That means it blocks it. It's a neural block. So if one neuron is firing, and it will block the neurotransmitters in the synaptic gap from activating this one. This one we blocked off and it will not fire, which is that neural gate, okay, that stops the pain, stops the seizures. It also has a retrograde possibility to it, which it comes back and then calms this neural biology as well. So the other one, FAA, that's your analgesia. That's the anti-inflammation, anti-pain, and it helps with cannabis withdrawal disorder for people who are getting over addiction for THC. Okay, and the last one is, of course, your serotonin receptors. This activates, CBD activates the serotonin receptor, so it regulates mood. It's really great for anxiety, really great for depression. And the research is just stacked on top for the last 5 to 7 years now about how wonderful this, the hemp CBD works very well on those things. The THC, on the other hand, can activate. So you have to be careful on how you balance your endocannabinoid mix, okay? THC can activate and make you more anxious, depending on how the THC affects the neurobiology in the brain. So you get to be really smart on how much you're taking very low THC, so you can get that for the motor movement and the shaking to get that to calm down, but a high CBD content to keep the psychoactive down, okay? Also keeps the anxiety, keeps the depression in check. And because it's an adaptogen, it works differently on the neurobiology for the anxiety and the depression, and knows the difference. It's really kind of an amazing system we have that we have never utilized, okay? CBD can represent a novel, fast antidepressant drug via enhancing both serotonin receptor sites and glutamate cortisol signaling. It just, and the research is just phenomenal on it. It really is. If you want to get any of this research, you can put your name and phone number, email, and I can send you. Okay, we'll have a conversation and you can look at it. Okay. Let's see. PD is you know what? Do you need me to read about PD for you guys? I mean, you guys kind of know more about it than I do. So, and I suspect everybody's kind of gone over PD. So this is me letting you know that I've researched PD and that you know, and I get it that you already know all this information, so I'm not going to sit on it too hard, okay? So just underlying agents, oxidative stress, which CBD is so good stopping and helping. And so even if you don't get a physical feeling better, which I know you will taking CBD, just the basic health properties of it itself is imperative to take at this point for everybody, especially since we are also stressed out, and then the oxidative stress on top of that. Glutamate, it calms down and cuts off glutamate. So it's great for that underlying agent for what you have going on. Mitochondrial dysfunction, I'd have to get more research on the direct effect of mitochondrial with the CBD. I did not do that research. And neuro apoptosis, so the death of the cell itself. All I know at this point with apoptosis is that CBD in the bloodstream itself kills cancer cells, and they've got it filmed. And it's apoptotic for cancer. And it also, it's a protective, so it stops the cancer from being able to send out cytokines to ask for help. I need oxygen, I need water, I need if I'm a cancer cell, and it goes in and kind of coats me and covers me up, and it can tell the differential between a healthy cell and a sick cell. And it can go around and it will coat and stop, it blocks off blood flow, and then the cell itself eats itself alive pretty much. And I know many examples, including myself from being a cancer survivor that used it, and I am still here. So it's an amazing thing, though this is not a cancer talk, but I just thought I'd share that with you. Okay, so endocannabinoids are basal ganglia. The cannabinoid neurotransmitter produced on demand by enzymes expressed throughout the central nervous system. So you have endogenous glands, AEA, 2AG, both bind to CB1 and CBD cannabinoid receptors. Okay, CB1 is expressed low at the glutamatergic receptor sites and high at GABA, and that's the one that would help with your motor movement. Okay, and help create and either slow down the shaking and or be able to get you past dyskinesia, things like that. That make sense? Okay, I know I'm kind of blowing through this kind of quick, but it's kind of a lot of information. Dopaminergic neurons do not express CB1 receptor sites. Okay, but the cannabinoid system can interact indirectly with the dopaminergic neurotransmission in the striatum, interfering with the control of voluntary muscles, which can help you control your movement. Okay. On the other hand, the CB1 receptor activation dampens amphetamine-induced hypolocomotion, as well as rise in dopamine and glutamate released in the striatum. Striatal CB1 receptors also decrease GABAergic input into dopaminergic neurons in the central nervous system, thus modulating the fire of the activity of these. And the endocannabinoid system modifies this function and interferes. So neurobiologically, it either acts as an agonist or an antagonist and can help you move or slow down this, depending on where it is in the neurobiology. The one thing I do know after 7 years of being in this industry and working with people with PD and different things, everybody responds differently to CBD, everybody, or to THC. I look at it as empowering because you have to tune into your bodies, and you guys are so tuned into your bodies now. You don't have a choice in the matter. So using CBD is something to where it's a trial and error, and you have to start low in your dosing and titrate up till you find your perfect spot, your perfect dose, okay? It's not a one fits all because everybody's body's a little different. Everybody's body responds differently. So you can have somebody that uses 50-50 THC and CBD and it's great. You can have somebody else who wants only 10% THC but 80% CBD, depending on what their neurobiology is doing, okay? And you get to work with whomever you're working with me or whomever, to work with finding out what works perfectly with your body, okay? So, and also CBD is biphasic, especially full spectrum cannabinoid oils, because if you start low but you go way too high, you'll have an opposite effect of what you want, especially for pain. So you always start low and find your perfect set, okay? And don't get frustrated. It takes a little time. It is an herb. It's not like a pharmaceutical. It won't knock you out. You won't feel it immediately. It's 5 to 15 minutes, especially for anxiety and pain. Usually a week or two for the emotional stuff, okay, to really inset into the brain, okay? So preclinical studies. There's several in vitro experiments that demonstrate promising neuroprotective effects of CBD, okay, directly on PD models. CBD increases cell viability, differentiation, and expression of axonal, okay, and synaptic proteins, okay? This is good for you guys. These protective effects depend on the activation, okay, of certain kinase receptor sites. And those are the ones that are actually in between where the muscle attaches to something other than muscle, from my understanding. This is a little above my pay grade. I understand neurobiology. I'm not a neurobiologist. I'm actually a hemp farmer with a doctorate of clinical sci ABD. So, and what this is stating is that this, in the preclinical studies and trials, are showing some really great possibilities for the neuroprotective factors, which would slow down the progression of this disease. Okay. Also, protective cells, amyloid-induced decreases. So what this is saying is that this helps decrease the possibility and of the calcium buildup, which creates the amyloid over the ends of the dendrites in the neurobiology, which causes Alzheimer's and many other things, okay? So this is part of your neural protection, and it's kind of an amazing, amazing process, okay? Super important. Now, these are open clinical studies. As a pilot study, dosing ranging from 150 to 400 milligrams a day. That's a pretty big dose. 400 milligrams is that's bigger than some of the full 1 ounce bottles I've got, okay? Combined with classic anti-Parkinsonian agents, reduced psychotic symptoms. Now I have people that take the 100 milligram and and my battery is running low. Anyway, so I have people that take 100 milligrams. Usually I average somewhere around 33 milligrams per dose. Seems to work for most people 2 times, 3 times a day, okay? So, and this doesn't influence the cognitive, it actually helps because it ups circulation in the brain, okay? It helps circulation in the lymphatic system. It helps clean out, it loosens the tonality of your vascular system so that you get more of a circulation process going on. So healthy for you. I have a lot of racers, runners, athletes that use it to help performance and also helps with rebuilding after a workout. Okay. Let's see, 4 patients, reduced frequency of events related to REM sleep. So this is, I sell a lot of this just for sleep disorders, for women in menopause, can't sleep, people who just can't sleep. You take this at night and it stops the ruminating mind from going in circles, okay? It doesn't knock you out like a drug, it just calms all that down, okay? So you can go off to sleep and your natural processes can take over. This is how it works with your anxiety process that goes on in your body as well. When full anxiety, it'll calm that somatic fight or flight system down. It's really good for kids with autism and ADHD because it calms, but the CBC in it helps circulation in the brain, so for focus and attention. So ADHD kids, I got them back in school when they weren't in school. I got them functioning and it's just kind of an amazing, beautiful process to see when their parents are just, they're back, to have their kids back. So, so back to REM sleep, this really is a rather amazing process for sleep. I use it myself for sleep. Best part is if you have a rough day and you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, you just get to take some more. You can't overdose on the stuff and it doesn't really knock you out so you don't feel groggy the next day, okay? You could take it and sleep for an hour and be fine the next day, okay? There's another clinical trial, 300 milligrams of CBD improved mobility, emotional well-being, cognition, communication, body discomfort compared to placebo. Authors suggested this effect might be related to the anti-anxiety, okay, effect of this, the antidepressant, and the antipsychotic properties of CBD. Okay, this is an interesting research that I found out there. It's a little research project that they did over in Germany. This is about a patient's view, and they handed them some, you know, you can tell my brain is going, a questionnaire sheet to fill out. So, all right, so Department of Neurobiology in Hamburg, okay. Medical cannabis, the problem is I don't have the full research project on this, so I'm not sure how much in affiliation from THC and CBD that they're doing. The objective is to figure out and find out what the community and PD thinks in patients. So they just used a questionnaire, and these are the amount of questions. 51 participants were aware of MC, which is medical cannabis. 28 various routes, they knew how to take it. They understood its mechanisms. 9% knew the difference between THC and CBD, which is fairly low, because in the US, I think it's higher than that. PD-related cannabis was reported 8.4% patients associated with a younger age living in cities, things like that. So reduction of pain, muscle cramps reported in 40%. Stiffness, akinesia, freezing, tremor, depression, anxiety, and restless leg syndrome improved by 20%. Overall to tolerate it was good, right? 68% inhaled, 54 improved symptoms with the oral CBD. Oral CBD, you kind of have to take a little bit more, but if you have acute pain, you're going to want to vape it. So if you end up with PD with extreme acute pain, you're going to want to inhale it because you get 99% of the cannabinoids and it hits your body immediately. Done deal. Okay. Compared to CBD intake, inhalation, THC was more frequently reported to help with the stiffness and the movement. Okay, as comparative. So, and CBG, I just kind of put this one in. It's a new, not a lot of research yet. The CBG interacts with the neurobiology a little different, and its neuroprotective potential is amazing. So couple that with CBD, and it's kind of an amazing, amazing cannabinoid in itself. Cannabidiol is what it's called. CBD is cannabidiol. So, cannabidiol is also indicates a need for higher doses. Comparative to IV administration, which is obvious because a lot of the cannabinoids will get digested away. Although some additional confirmatory data is still required, the presence of data further development, such as oral products towards clinical to address. So this is just saying that the way the research is showing, what the research is showing is that we need a lot more research, and it looks really good. This is a very new industry. Very new. It's not that old. There's been people researching it, like Dr. Rousseau. He's got a great website. He is the man about man. So about this. So if you want to learn some more about it. This will talk about the P450 enzymes and things, and I think we're out of time. We done? We're done. So I kind of figured it would be. It's a lot of information. It's mouthfuls for me, especially when I'm nervous standing up here, but greatly appreciate your attention and your open minds and being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate it.